Hello? Check, that better?
So after the positive reception from the Shame Plays video, I've been kind of stuck on whether I should do this one, because I mean, maybe entering no man's land at this point, and I've been working on the Bacon Hair review for a while, which is why I ended up going, you know what, I'm gonna take this opportunity to do a full review on all of them. ObliviousHD, or Matt Horton, is a Roblox creator on YouTube who in recent years has made full-length films all based in the world of Roblox. At this point, every Roblox player knows who he is, especially from the Last Guest movie he released in 2017, and all the rest of his projects have received mass praise and attention from fans and players alike. Let's start with his first project. To be honest, even though this movie and the second part is really poorly made, not even scary at all, and the acting as well could be worse.
Can you help me with this question, please?
I mean, there's not really much to say about these two. I mean, the drama is really cheesy, and yeah, the twist is just stupid. I don't know. Guess 666 is kind of something I would give a pass since it's his first ever Roblox movie, and that's the only reason I let this get away. But then his next project comes along, and this is where everything changes. Entire Roblox community. I mean, saying entire Roblox community isn't saying much, but they were basically drooling all over this movie when it came out, along with its other parts. Yes, I'm calling them parts, they're not sequels. However, his fans still love it to this day, and I can't wait for all of them to grow up here and realize this movie doesn't hold up in any way. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the latest release version of this movie since there are a few minor changes made to the first part. The Last Guest is a pretty self-explanatory title in itself. It's about a guest named Guest, the most creative name ever put to film. Like, couldn't you at least name him like, I don't know, something basic like John or Jason! Anyway, the biggest problem I have with this entire movie is that the plot is just stuff that happens. And the end, with the sprinkle of forced sadness to trick you into thinking this is a good quote-unquote film. All the characters except for Jez have no development, and even his arc is rushed and poorly executed. Guest is just the Gary Stu and eventually Jez as well, who get out of problems with little to no effort. I mean, look at him, he should have died instantly from this. They're even shooting in his direction. You're meaning to tell me these goons have worse aim than a stormtrooper? That's too far of a stretch for me. The Bacon Colonel, or the main villain of this movie, has no depth at all. He's just an empty husk for the bad guys to eventually shoot and kill in the finale. Isn't this supposed to be for kids? I mean, holy crap, they just shot him in cold blood. Guest and Jez aren't heroes. End of story. Plus the editing is kind of weird. Sometimes it's really bad, and sometimes it's made to look like, you know, some sort of trailer edit, which is really odd. It's an odd decision for something like this. And the camera work is pretty basic. You got camera A and camera A and camera A and camera A and sometimes camera B, but yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the filmmaking. The lighting is really dull, and the film kind of looks ugly. Some of you right now are probably wondering, what about the other characters? What about Rose and the Bacon General, Zara and Daisy? Well, yeah, they're all pretty uninteresting and not compelling in any way, and Rose is just ruined. Also, why did you have to self-insert, Matt? Gosh, I'm getting flashbacks of David Cage putting himself in Indigo Prophecy. Now, let's talk about the one movie that honestly didn't need to exist. This movie, what even was this? The very concept of BLOX Watch completely breaks the entire world of The Last Guest, especially since now all of his projects except for Bacon Hair are all connected and take place in the same universe. And if that's the case, then how come BLOX Watch or Guest 666 don't have a part in this supposed huge conflict in The Last Guest? Why didn't the Bacon Colonel just like call him up and be like, hey, my forces are being destroyed by this Gary Stu, do me a solid, will you? It doesn't expand the world, it just makes everything so confusing. There is no rewatch value here too. The movie is just boring overall. And I guess Matt realized that he did a big oof when making this, and that's why he decided to just cancel it altogether. And thank God he did, because he was going to release an additional 3 parts to this mess. Like, to be honest, looking back on this movie has really nothing else to offer. Guest's daughter is just the same character as Guest, a fearless protagonist with 0 flaws. Again, a Mary Sue. Like, just look at this. She's not even reacting. There's no fear on her face right now. If I were her, I would have been out minutes ago. The concept of limbo is interesting, but the idea is never fully explored. Like, the movie would have been so much better if the dude in the beginning that gets clapped by BLOX watch, this guy right here, is like possessed or something, and the movie turns into a murder mystery at the school, and then the characters have to have a final encounter where they have to go to limbo and fight off BLOX watch on his territory. Plus, remove the powers are stupid, and disconnect this from the last case completely. It just came off the top of my head, and it's a million times better than whatever this is. Also, this is supposed to be a horror movie, but where's the horror? Is that it? That's pathetic. Overall, I think this is perhaps the worst Matt has done in terms of Roblox movies, but the fans will still love it for some particular reason. After BLOX watch, I lost all hope for Oblivious. Then something happened. Matt officially announces his next project, The Bacon Hair, a new Roblox action movie with the trailer eventually coming in the next few months. I was intrigued, yet skeptical, but I was willing to give him another chance. Then the first trailer drops, and I give it a watch. After those 2 short minutes, I was interested. Then another trailer drops, promising better animation and hopefully a better screenplay. Let's now talk about ObliviousHD's latest project. First, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here. This is going to be a hot take because some of these Oblivious fans are really stupid. The Bacon Hair is not in any way, I repeat, not in any way connected to The Last Guest. I don't know who started this stupid claim. I know Matt didn't say it. You can check his Twitter, there's no evidence. But if you watch the movie and think about it for half a millisecond, it doesn't make any sense if it was connected. And this is to his fans. Tell me where this would fit in The Last Guest timeline. Can't put it as a prequel because how the hell is this guy The Last Guest? You can't put it as a sequel because that means the guests eventually turn evil and the Bacons are enslaved, creating one big useless cycle of domination. That completely invalidates Guest's actions against the Bacon army, making him the bad guy. But that doesn't make any sense either because clearly the film says the Bacons are the bad guys. If that would be the case, then who the heck is on whose side? Why would it even matter at this point? Why does any of this series matter? Yeah, wow, that wasn't even part of the script. I was just going off, so, yeah, back to the video again. So, is it good? It's fine, I guess. I'm gonna repeat what I said in my reaction videos and say, Bacon Hair is his best, but I wouldn't call it great. First off, the actors. Their performances range from passable to just laughably bad. And I'm not surprised by this at all. Come on guys, this is Oblivious we're talking here. So far, none of these actors have ever pulled off a compelling performance. This is also due to the fact that the script in this movie is also kinda crappy in some places. The film itself doesn't take any effort to be subtle with its own screenplay or even its own messages. So the movie comes off as very preachy. Visual storytelling is a fun element to use in movies, and I like when it's used instead of just having the meaning of the scene be told straight to your face in some throwaway one-liner in the script. This happens a lot, and it gets really annoying. But then the other problem is that sometimes it's impossible for Matt to use that element of visual storytelling because in some cases the animation is so robotic. Speaking of animation, before I get into this topic, I just want to address the commenters on my Bacon Hair trailer reaction that were salty because I said the animation was choppy and bad. Well, that's because it kinda is. I mean, look at this, what even is that? The animation quality in this movie is very inconsistent, and that's because Matt hired different animators to make some of the scenes. They all have their own great style, but none of them mesh well together. It's like the movie kept teasing me with much better animation, and then the cycle continues until the end. However, I do like how the final scene is shot. It's almost like I was watching a completely different Bacon Hair than the one I was promised. The main trio in this movie includes Zayden, Primrose, and Guesty. which is
brilliant but lazy.
And then there are other characters like Zayden's father, Kenzie and her father, the president, etc. But they don't matter as much in the big picture. Zayden is pretty good in the first part. Not everything goes his way, and he's just a kid at this point, so that makes some sense. He has Guesty to help him when he's in trouble, so he's safe from most danger at this point. Zayden's core traits that he does develop in the second part are basic. Wait. Actually, I don't think Zayden has any character traits to make him a flawed protagonist. Don't get me wrong, Zayden does lose people he cares about, his parents, Primrose. Oh wait, never mind. Thanks for another fake out death match. But these losses don't really affect him the way they should. But I'll get to that later. Primrose is pretty decent in the first part too, at least it's a character. The voice acting can be something else sometimes. But there is one thing I hate about her character again. I'll get to that later. The plot of this movie is pretty airtight in the first part, which is still my favorite of the three, but when the second part rolled around, I began to notice how the story was starting to fall apart. The main character is also bland now that I think about it. I mean, what did Zayden learn from all this? Actually, I'm starting to look back now, and I'm struggling to figure out what Zayden's arc is. The only character with a real arc is Primrose, and again, like Jez, they just rush through it way too fast. And Matt even uses montages again. Wow, I've never thought I would see this again. Montages don't work to build a compelling trio. They often make you care nearly not enough about them. Also, speaking of Primrose, she is not at all a threatening villain. I'm sorry, but the voice acting is not very convincing here. Talking about villains, the president. He's kind of a by-the-book cartoon villain with no actual reason for being bad. He just is, and I actually like how he's done. Now, hold on a minute. I do acknowledge that his lines drag on, but he does make up for it by actually killing a couple people, including Guesty. So I like how the president is actually doing bad stuff instead of everyone talking about how bad he is. But there are some similarities between him and the colonel from the last guest, besides the voice actor. I'll give you this one, Matt. This guy's decent, but you know who's not a good villain?
The gun recognizes fingerprints.
Xavier is such a wasted character. It disappoints me that Matt didn't introduce this guy sooner. If Matt had Xavier kill Primrose, then he could have been such an interesting foil to Zayden. That would have given this story so much more depth that I'm kind of pissed Matt overlooked this opportunity. That would have been actually really cool. Maybe I'd care about Zayden more if the story didn't play it so safe after Zayden joins the resistance. Also, why did the president want Xavier dead if he was just gonna kill Primrose and Zayden anyway? Wasn't that what you wanted this whole time? You tried to kill him when he was just a kid. Why is this any different? Honestly, that's a problem that I've seen in all of Matt's movies. They're all so plot focused that they forget about the characters. Finally, let's get to the twist. The twist! Confusing. Instead of giving me answers, it just filled me with even more questions. Here's how to explain it. So, in Bacon City, there are these curfew bots. They always come around when someone is caught outside past the curfew. I kinda actually like this concept. One of them even killed Zayden's father. But that's besides the point. The whole twist is brought up when Zayden mentioned his mother being killed by curfew bots as well. But then the president says this.
It was your very own people who killed your
No.
mother.
You're lying. The curfew bots killed my mother. Your curfew bots.
Exactly. The curfew bots killed your mother.
The curfew bots? They can't be. They're...
Correct. The curfew bots are bacon hairs.
I'm sorry.
What?
Then he goes saying this.
Isn't it ironic? You are the ones suppressing yourselves.
The more I thought about it, the more my brain started to hurt. That's when I realized that the twist doesn't work at all. I mean, what makes the curfew bots bacon hairs? Can you explain a bit more? Can you elaborate on that, Mr. President? I mean, I don't know.
Got him!
Which brings us to the final scene. This is one of the couple scenes in the movie where everything just works so well. The one-shot take, the grim filtering, the depressing music, the rain, and then just the echoing sound of curfew bots marching towards the city coming out of the dark smoke. Why wasn't the whole movie made with this mindset? Now, it seems like I hate everything in this movie since I've been spending however many minutes talking about what makes it bad. I don't think it's bad, but it's not good. Bacon Hair is a movie that can be described as having really good qualities and then like a crap ton of bad qualities just weigh it down. The music is good in some places, others it's not. Some of the action's really fun to watch, but some of it's kind of boring and repetitive. However, all of it is animated a lot better than Matt's other projects, solely due to the fact that Matt didn't animate the fight scenes this time, someone else did, who was clearly way better at it. Overall, the bacon hair can be described in 2 words: missed potential. Okay, we've made it through his movies, but there's still one last thing. Now, if you held a gun to my face and forced me to answer the question of whether or not ObliviousHD fans are worse than Shane Plays fans, I would say, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
At the very least, I can handle Shane Plays fans. But the ObliviousHD fans are a whole other level when playing defense to someone who doesn't love the movies as much as they do. I mean, heck, my bacon hair trailer reaction video got a nearly 1-to-1 dislike ratio that pretty much explains everything. Compare that to the Shane Plays video where more people agreed with me. I can't say the same for these guys. You say one negative thing about Matt's movies and you'll be bombarded by a storm of fans who call you a quote-unquote hater because you don't like the movie that they like. It's even worse with Oblivious fans because then they'll come back with supposedly elusive and well-based arguments on why you're wrong for not liking it. It's much more toxic and just needs to stop. As of editing this video, I have come to the conclusion that the biggest problem I have with all of his movies are the characters. Now this is to you guys, the viewers. What is the most important part in making a story stick? I'll give you guys a second to put it in the comments. 3, 2, 1. The most important part in making a story stick with the audience is the characters. Think of some of your favorite movies. Why do you like them? Why do you keep coming back to it? It's because of the characters. The characters in these movies are bland, uninteresting, one-dimensional, and some with paper-thin development. And overall, that's gonna make the movie feel bland, uninteresting, and just boring. And this is why I don't really care, because I don't care about the characters. This is why I can't enjoy these movies, because the characters are written so weak. And that's what I think Matt needs to work on. He needs to work on writing better characters with unique traits and development. And this is to you, Matt. The characters should not depend on the plot. The plot should depend on the characters and their actions based on their own individually developed traits, flaws, and goals. And that's all I have to say about that. Now, I don't want to come off as someone who just thinks Matt sucks at everything, because that's simply not true. I want this dude to succeed at his craft, but I think his fans are weighing him down when they don't balance the positive feedback with the negative. They'll just bombard him with praise and say this is the best movie ever made in the history of cinema. You want that, but not too much to the point where you don't improve, especially when you desperately need to in order to stay fresh. Now, by that I don't mean more hateful commenters. So am I excited for Bacon Hair Part 4? Am I excited for whatever comes next out of his ongoing projects? Well, I think the only appropriate answer for me is, I don't know. Alright guys, so that's the video for today, and like the Shane Plays video, I want you guys to comment down below what you think about ObliviousHD. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you thought it sucked. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey, that kinda rhymed.